The traumatic Season 5 conclusion of Rick and Morty, which witnesses the destruction of the Citadel, is immediately followed by the Season 6 premiere. In the episode Solaricks, Rick faces a well-known obstacle, but things take an unexpected turn when the brilliant scientist's troubled history interferes with the task. Rick needs to figure out a method to reunite his family as a result. Here is all the information you need to know about the conclusion of Rick and Morty Season 6, Episode 1 if you're curious about what happened in the newest journey of the beloved grandfather-grandson combo. Warning, spoiler ahead. Rick and Morty Season 6 Episode 1 Recap. President Morty has just escaped beyond the central finite curve when Rick and Morty Season 6 Episode 1, Solaricks, begins. With little chance of escaping their impending catastrophe, Rick and Morty find themselves trapped in the shattered Citadel. But Space Beth saves them and takes them back home. Rick tries to give the portal fluid mechanics a rest after understanding that President Morty's actions have rendered portal travel impossible. He unintentionally changes the settings for the portal travelers, sending Rick, Morty, and Jerry back to where they came from. Rick gives Summer instructions on how to return to the C-131 dimension before departing. Summer begins the protocol and invites Beth and Space Beth to assist her in saving the family after Rick, Morty, and Jerry vanish. Space Beth hesitantly agrees and joins Summer and Beth in their alliance. While this is happening, Rick leaves the C-137 dimension and is tortured by an AI created to resemble his late wife Diane. Throughout, Rick is reminded of his animosity at Cronenberg Dimension. Rick, the person responsible for the murder of Rick's family. Rick is compelled to fly to the doomed reality since Morty hails from the Cronenberg Dimension. Morty and Jerry are reunited in the Cronenberg Dimension, where Jerry informs that Summer and Beth have passed away in this world. After spending some time together, Jerry tricks Morty and takes off with his possessions. Rick will soon be guided through the multiverse by a beacon that Summer and her friends will soon light. Beth and Space Beth, however, compete for Summer's love. Rick meets up with Morty once he enters the Cronenberg Dimension. However, with Morty's assistance, Rick regains his composure after becoming obsessed with getting right with Cronenberg Rick. As a result, Rick is compelled to admit that he entered the Cronenberg Dimension with the hopes that one day Cronenberg Rick will visit his family, giving Rick the opportunity to exact retribution. Rick's scheme is useless, though, because Cronenberg Rick doesn't care about his family. In the end, Rick chooses to go back to the C-131 dimension in the hopes of starting over with his gathered family. Rick and Morty Season 6 Episode 1 Ending. Do Rick and Morty return to Dimension C-131? A stylish confirmation of Rick's terrible history and relationship to Cronenberg Rick can be found in the 6th season episode. Rick decides to give up his need for vengeance as a result and thus begins his act of letting go. Since their previous realm was destroyed, Rick eventually goes back to the Smith family's residence in Dimension C-131. In addition, despite the fact that the characters Beth, Jerry, and Summer are from various dimensions of origin, the dimension has allowed them to develop independently and brought them closer to Rick and Morty. Towards the end of the episode, Rick and Morty retrieve Jerry from his original dimension and bring him back to C-131. But they run upon Jerry from that dimension, still alive and bearing Mr. Frumbles, an adorable little alien parasite. Jerry mistakenly sets the creature loose, and it then begins to eat reality. The Smith family is forced to relocate once more to a new dimension when the alien parasite quickly takes over the entire planet. In the end, the Smith family, headed by Rick, moves to a different reality where their ostensibly artificial counterparts pass away. The Smiths decide to start again by burying their twins in the backyard. Rick promises to fix the portal transportation system, though. The Smith family's reality is effectively restarted in this episode, but it is also made clear that Rick C-137 is still mourning the loss of his wife and daughter. Additionally, Morty's discovery that Rick is not his biological grandfather can later cause the kid to experience some unsettling emotions. The Smith family is currently, however, unharmed and intact as they resume their normal lives in a new reality. It is safe to conclude that Dimension C-131 has been effectively destroyed as a result. In a post-credits scene, Cronenberg Rick kills Jerry from that dimension when the latter suggests a team-up. Therefore, it is evident that Cronenberg Rick is certainly up to no good and could end up targeting the Smiths. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more.